how to use LinkedIn Sales Navigator to generate leads for your business or for your clients. This is an express LinkedIn Sales Navigator tutorial where I will show you the most important aspects of LinkedIn Sales Navigator without overloading you with all of that functionality that it has. I will also introduce you to the vital parts of the LinkedIn lead generation process, the ones that you cannot skip if you're looking to generate leads and acquire clients through LinkedIn. And if you find this video useful, please like it and subscribe to the channel because it shows me that you appreciate my effort. Thank you so much. If I was to break down the entire LinkedIn Sales Navigator lead generation process, I would divide the entire thing into five steps. The first step is really all about identifying your product market fit through finding a niche, positioning, and offer. I cannot stress just how important this step is before you start even getting onto LinkedIn Sales Navigator. When I start working with clients, it's the first thing that I look at. And if they are a little bit all over the place, if they don't have a very specific niche or they are not clear about the positioning or their offer, I'm not even going to launch anything before we have all this dialed in because it makes no sense otherwise. Once we got this product market fit out of the way, we're looking into optimizing LinkedIn profile based on the product market fit. So this is where you would speak directly to your ideal client profile, your ICP, call them out, describe what the deliverables are, what is your offer, etc. You would also sprinkle in a lot of social proof and testimonials if applicable. And only after these two steps, I look into Sales Navigator and using Sales Navigator to identify your ideal client profile, create lists, and basically start prospecting and outreach to the potential clients. And to once again clarify, this is what this tutorial is all about. However, it's only part of the success for generating leads. The most important bit is the outbound messaging sequences. So this is when you start sending direct message sequences to your ideal clients using a lot of case studies, using social proof and testimonials where applicable. The idea here is to really identify anybody who is already looking to purchase the solution that you're offering. So they're aware of the problem that they have, and there you have it. The solution they're looking for is coming right at them. However, not everyone will buy at this stage, and this is what the content is all about. So this is when you post awareness type content, consideration, using case studies, and other types of content. So now that you understand how the Sales Navigator tool fits into the entire lead generation process, let's finally look at it. To access the tool from your LinkedIn page, you go to this link right on the top right corner and open it up. Now that LinkedIn Sales Navigator is open, we are going to close this notifications bar, which is something recent LinkedIn started doing. And we're going to go directly into the search because remember, this is an express LinkedIn Sales Navigator tutorial. So I want to just go right into it right away. So you go to the search bar here and then just hit enter. Now you end up on this page, which is somewhat probably familiar to you. You've got two options here at the top left corner, lead and account. If you translate this from LinkedIn Sales Navigator English to standard English, this basically means people, and this basically means businesses. 99% of experts out there will tell you that you have to start searching for people first. I go completely opposite route. I choose to go and search for companies to begin with. Because if you think about it, you are looking for companies that fit your ideal client profile. And due to the way LinkedIn filters operate, you will also end up finding a lot of prospects that don't fit your ideal client profile if you look through the lead search on LinkedIn. So let's go to this account tab and open up all filters. As you can see, there's a whole bunch of filters, not too many, which is great. And generally, when I start looking for companies, I'm going to start using the headquarters location first. So for the sake of this tutorial, let's assume that I'm looking for software development companies located in United States. So the first thing I'm doing, I'm going to add locations. I'm going to click add United States. I'm going to close this tab right now. Next, I might look at the industry as well. Industry is something that is sometimes fairly inaccurate, so it's recommended that you check out a bunch of separate industries. Let's try here, software development. In this case, it's fairly easy, and I would assume that most of software development companies pick software development as a niche that they operate in. The third most important filter that I use is the company headcount. I am looking for a very specific size companies, And in this case, I'm going to click anybody that is 11 to 50. As you can see, I have a whole bunch of filters now turned on, and I end up with 18,000 companies, which is a lot of companies. So what can I do in this case? I need to filter this down even further. There's a couple of ideas that I can use in order to make this happen, in order to make sure that my list of the companies that I find here on LinkedIn Sales Navigator is close to my ideal client profile. Ideally, I want to have this number below 1,000 or even less, because if you think about it, for every company, we'll be adding maybe 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 decision makers going forward, because that's the way it works these days. And if you can imagine this number, 18,000 multiplied by 4, that's a crazy amount of connections, and I'm not going to go through them in 1,000 years. So the first way to kind of trim it down further is to go through the technologies used filter. LinkedIn will literally tell you which of these companies uses what sorts of technology. You can see that there's Google Analytics, Google Ads, React, WordPress, and so on and so forth. However, I really like to use this search keywords bar because you can use something what is called Boolean search. And I'm going to show you what it is. In essence, Boolean search is an advanced search operator search. This is when you tell LinkedIn that you want to see some companies that fit several keywords that you're using in order to identify your ideal client profile. For example, you can tell LinkedIn that you only want to find companies that fit one criteria and another one at the same time. In essence, they will be using separate keywords that you have identified are being used by your ideal client profile. For example, I know that my ideal client profile, my potential clients, they use words like manufacturing. So I want to find software development companies that are focused on manufacturing, and that would use the word platform because I'm looking for software development companies that have a platform that is being used, say, for manufacturing or any combination of these. So now I can go and tell LinkedIn, okay, LinkedIn, I only want the companies that use these two words at the same time in their description. I can also use Boolean search in order to exclude certain companies that do not fit my ideal client profile. For example, recruiters. Let's see how it looks like in real life. And here's a quick guide by LinkedIn itself. You have a couple of options here, not too many. So this is to exclude anyone that doesn't fit your ideal client profile. This is the example that I just used. So if you have a platform and manufacturing, and this gives us a more variation. So say you want a manufacturing or somebody else, a software company that operates in another industry, you can include the or. And here's how it works. I can say manufacturing and see what the results are and end up with 586 results. And let's see if it makes any difference. Recruiting. No, there's no company in this list that use the word recruiting. Try recruiter. Just want to illustrate this point. 18,000 results, not recruiter. Okay, so there we go. Once you use not recruitment, see, it takes out 1,000 of the companies that use the word recruitment in their description. So that's how you can use this then. In my case, I want to use the word agency because I'm really looking for agency. So I'm going to type in agency. And these are all the results that end up being. So these are all agencies. They all use the word agency in their description. I can also say agency or company. And you can see that all of a sudden I have a lot more results as well. And then I can make it even more sophisticated. I can say not recruiter, recruitment. And before I click this button, I want to include the parenthesis so that this is respected. In this case, it didn't produce any significant results, so I'm going to leave it as is. But let's play with this list. I've got a very, very small list of 314 results of companies that use the word agency. So I know these are all software development agencies located in the United States that have anywhere between 11 to 50 people working in them. What do I do next? Well, first of all, I highly recommend you save this list. You select all and save this list to whatever you want to call it, software dev agencies. And I'm just going to create and save. And then you basically go through this list and do the same thing. Select all, save to list, software development agencies. Scroll down, click again, and do the same thing. As you can tell, it takes a bit of time, but it's not crazy. Once you have this list created, what you're going to do next is that you're going to tell LinkedIn that you only want to find decision makers from the set of these companies that you have now put in the list. So all this search that you'll be doing going forward comes from the companies itself. So you know that these companies that fit your ideal client profile. So now all you need to do is find the decision makers inside the list. And if you were doing this then in the opposite direction, you would start with finding the leads first. You would actually have to verify that the leads that you find operate. You'd have to verify that the leads that you find are still working in the companies they list in their LinkedIn profiles, because very frequently they would change their job and forget to update their LinkedIn status. So you reach out to somebody that doesn't work in the company anymore, and you're wasting valuable LinkedIn credits. And LinkedIn Sales Navigator, even when you pay for it, doesn't give out a ton of credits. You only get around 800 connection requests on a monthly basis, which roughly translates into 200 connection requests on a weekly basis. And once you use up those 200 connections on a weekly basis, LinkedIn will disallow you to send a connection request to anybody else. So you'd have to wait for another week to start off before you can renew this activity of sending connection requests. So let's see how this process of finding the decision makers works now. You have two options here. You can either go back to the first page and basically select the 25 companies that you have just discovered and click view current employees. The problem with this is that you have these current companies listed in the current company list. And in order to add the next 25, you kind of have to go to the next page and do the same process all over and over again. Instead of this, you can go to Sales Navigator homepage and go to click search and then hit enter once again, see all filters, and this is when you can add the account lists. And this is the list that we have just created. It's right here, soft dev agencies. Basically right now we're telling LinkedIn that we only want to find leads that work in the companies that we have added previously. And I think we added like 75 companies. So as you can see, there's more than 2,000 people working in these agencies that we have just found. Now our goal is to discover the decision makers. Research shows that these days the decision making has become very, very vague. Yeah, so there's a whole bunch of different people that are participating in the process of decision making. So I recommend adding a few people from the same company, anywhere between 1, 2, 3, and maybe even 4 people, depending on the size of the company. In this way, you increase the probability that at least one of them will accept your connection request. And if more than one of them accepts your connection request, you end up with more ways you can enter the same company, because obviously you're communicating with different people. Somebody likes you more than somebody else, or is more responsive to your messages. So that way you have a higher probability of ending up working with this client, signing up this lead into your client. There are two ways of how you can find decision makers on LinkedIn. One of them, I don't like it that much, which is more common way to use it. And I'm going to show you the second one. Let's check it out. The first filter that I'm not a huge fan of is the current job title. There it is. You can actually go and pick job titles. You can type in CEO and it will tell you Chief Executive Officer, and you can click include. As you can see, we end up with 63 results, which is almost the number of the companies we had in the list, which was 75. I'm going to repeat it once again and say it's just so important to follow this sequence of events that I've shown you so far, because right now we are sure that they are the CEOs of the companies we actually find through the search. We know that they fit the ideal client profile because we filtered these companies out beforehand. If we were doing the whole thing in the opposite direction, we'd find some chief executive officers, but they might have listed these titles in relation to some other companies that they work in. They might have consultancy firms or something else, some gigs they run on the side where they can be CEO in, which doesn't exactly translate into something that we're looking for. Now, the problem with this filter is that a lot of people are not using it correctly. They might even hide these filters because they don't want to be contacted by people reaching out to them and pitching them stuff. That's why I recommend using this filter instead. This is one is seniority level. And if you click on it, you see a whole bunch of different auto-generated seniority levels. These are guessed by LinkedIn itself, and LinkedIn is pretty good at that. For example, we can now include owner partner, and let's see what the result brings us. Now we have two results because these filters, they work together. But what if I was to take out this one? As you can see, we get a lot more results right away. We can also go even deeper and find anybody who is CXO. So this will be our list of chief executive officers as well, co-founders, board members, etc., etc. I recommend creating the list of owners, partners, and C-level guys before you start doing any further actions on LinkedIn. But before we go into there, I want to make sure that we're really adding people that make sense to us. For example, I don't want any board members. So I can just take it, copy it, and let's see how this works out. I can go into current job title, key it in, board member, and then say exclude. And then all of a sudden, I have a few or less results I should be worrying about. Let's scroll it further. Now I just want to make sure that I'm not getting anybody who I'm not really interested in. I don't want to have any partners as well because these guys are not really decision makers, in my mind at least. So I'm going to hit exclude once again. Again, few less people here. Looking further, co-founder, president, maybe to keep her founder and CEO, that's fine. Co-founder, managing partner, I'll take this out as well. Exclude, just for the sake of it. Before we go any further, I want to show you something else. Very frequently, the companies, we find these companies headquarters location, for this case specifically in the United States of America. But very frequently, the people that work in these companies, they might be located somewhere else. And sometimes they do not fit our ideal client profile as a result. So that's why we want to also control for the geographic filter to make sure that we only reach out to people that are located in the geographies that make sense to us. And to do this, we are going to check out the past company. No, this is company. This is personal. See, personal stuff. So now we're going to go in here and type in United States once again, and we'll probably end up with fewer results again. 139 results, which is pretty good. Again, in case with software development companies, even though the companies might be located in the United States, but you can have guys from other countries working in them, and I might not necessarily find them useful for my particular work. Now that we got 139 results, what I do next is very simple. I'm going to select all and I'm going to save them to list. This will be my list of, I can call them CEOs, C-level plus founder, and then give the description of soft dev agencies. Create and save. I can also save this search, but in this case it won't be meaning too much because we've got the account lists here. We need to be updating it going forward, adding more companies in order to find more people. As a result of all of these operations, right now we have a fairly clean lead list that we can further explore. Where do we take it from here? There are two options and I recommend you use both of them. So the first option is really all about sending these connection requests on LinkedIn. And you would only be able to contact the person through the connection request once it's accepted. The good connection request acceptance rate is anywhere between 20 to 30%. Sometimes it's a little bit lower, sometimes it's a little bit higher, depending on factors like your profile, your ICP, your location, your geography, your cultural background. All of these things really matter. And if you think about it, if you have 800 connection requests every single month from LinkedIn Sales Navigator at 20% conversion rate, at the end of each month, you end up between 160 accepted connection requests. That's for 20% conversion rate. And if you have 30% conversion rate, you end up with 240 new connection requests of people that fit into your ideal client profile. The second option that you absolutely must do as well, you should reach out to these people through the emails. Because even at 30% conversion rate, you still have like 70% of people that have not accepted your connection request. So you're really losing out on those folks as well. At this stage, there is no way you can download data from LinkedIn, and it's unlikely to happen in the future. That's why you need to use a third-party tool in order to extract those leads and to load them into your email campaign. There's a whole bunch of tools that do this. Personally, I tried Everboot, and I actually made an entire interview with the founder of Everboot, JB, and check it out in my channel. What the tool does, it basically extracts all these leads from LinkedIn, it enriches them, and then you can load them up into your email campaign and just send them out like that. An alternative method is to use a third-party tool that would basically automate the entire process of sending the connection requests, and then it would also send the messages, automated messages, and you can also do some email work as a result. These tools are more expensive and they're a little bit more sophisticated. I'm not going to talk about this in this specific video, but make sure to sign up to the channel because I will be covering them in the future and I'll show you how to make all of this work together. Now, back to the process of adding the connection requests manually, because there is something very important I want to show you. This is our list of decision makers, and now we want to connect with them. How do we do that? If you click these three dots here, you can see that there is a connection request. Well, I'm trying to actually reach out to this one already. Yeah, there we go. So there's this connect button here. And a lot of people would just click this button here and just feel good about it. The problem with this connection request button is that it's inside LinkedIn Sales Navigator tool. LinkedIn Sales Navigator is like a shadow version of LinkedIn itself. When you purchase LinkedIn Sales Navigator, you essentially purchase another LinkedIn, which is parallel to LinkedIn. It means that even if you send the connection request and they get accepted, once you stop using LinkedIn Sales Navigator, you stop paying for it. It doesn't mean that you should, but if you were to stop paying for it, you will lose all your connection requests. And what's more important, you will lose all your messaging inbox as well. Because once again, these message inboxes, they're not connected to each other. The one from LinkedIn Sales Navigator and the one from LinkedIn itself. And this is why you're going to do this then. Instead of clicking on these three dots, you're going to click on their name. It will open up the sidebar on the right. And then you're going to click these three dots here, and then you're going to view LinkedIn profile. It's going to open LinkedIn profile, and this is where you can basically send the connection requests from here. That way, even if you stop using LinkedIn Sales Navigator, you would still keep all of your connections and you will have all the messaging in one inbox, which is of LinkedIn. Once you click the connect button, LinkedIn is going to prompt you to add a note to your invitation. Would you add a note? Would you say add a note or send without a note? This experiment was run time and time again. Every time you try to add a note to a cold connection, your acceptance rate, for whatever reason, is going to suffer on average. Yes, I know this is crazy stuff because you would think that, if you had some personalization, your connection request is much more likely to fall through, but in reality, it's not the case. And in order to spare some time, I advise you to not send a connection request and your connection request approval rates will not suffer as a result. That's why we're not going to click add a note and just send without a note here. I'm not going to click the button right now because I'm running a campaign, a separate campaign. So I'm just going to close this guy right now. You would basically repeat the entire process for all of these connections and send as many of them as possible. Once you do that, once you finish going through the first list, you would repeat the process. You would find more companies that fit your ideal client profile, and you would find even more decision makers from these companies, just the way I showed you before. In essence, this is it. This is the Express LinkedIn Sales Navigator tutorial to make sure that you know how to generate leads with Sales Navigator as quickly as possible and generate them for your business or for your clients. Let me know what sort of questions you have in the comments below. I'll be there to respond to them and potentially record videos about the questions that you have. If you found this video useful, please like and subscribe to the channel. It shows that you appreciate my stuff and it helps me to keep going forward. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next video.